Hello everyone. I hope you all can hear me. Okay, thank you. Welcome to this another session on publications, and today we are talking about a very what to say a gray topic. I would say it's about predatory journals and predatory conferences. Um, Let us give just 2 or 3 more minutes for people to join in, and then we start with the session. But in the meantime, let me just introduce myself. So I'm Dr. Shruti Shah. I work with Curacos. I'm the director, strategy and growth at Curacos, and I lead the entire technical team here. And I come with almost 20 plus year experience in the field of medical writing. Uh, if you look at my qualifications, I come with with a post graduation degree in endocrinology, followed by a PhD in molecular oncology. I completed my education from Mumbai and from the famous Tata Memorial Center here in Mumbai. And uh, post that, I accidentally landed into the field of medical writing around 20 years back. So, yes. So now coming to so when I landed into this field of medical writing, a lot of things were not known then. But slowly we learned over time, and it is through these experiences of dealing with these kind of issues. Today, I thought that we should talk on something that I also have been a victim of, and I will share with you all of you my experiences with dealing with predatory journals that can help you, to understand how dangerous they can be and how they can take you for granted at times. Okay, and in spite of you knowing a lot of things, still sometimes we do fall prey to such malicious practices. Okay, so yes, I can see there are around 25, 27 people. So let us just wait for another two more minutes, and then we start with the session. Okay, in the interest of time, let's start with the session now. Okay. Uh, okay. So yes, before we go ahead with the topic, so just a small poll. So in this topic, what we are going to cover is about the rising activities of predatory activities in academics. Then how do you identify these predatory journals and predatory conferences, and what you should do in case you fall prey to this, then how you should take care of the activities later on, or what you can do to falling prey to these predatory activities. Now, before we go ahead with it, I just wanted to know of how many people have actually been a victim of a predatory journal or a conference. So a small poll. Himanshu, can we activate the poll? Okay, can we end the poll? Fine. So we have almost 60%, people have provided their inputs, and there are very few who have been victims of this predatory journals, and a majority of them saying that they have not been a victim. It may be because you have not. Uh, I mean, it this comes with when you write too many articles, when you are continuously writing either for a client, or you're writing your own publications, numerous publications. So yes, good that you have not been a victim of these predatory journals or conferences. But if you have been, then you know what are the what is the kind of stress that you undergo the moment you realize that the journal is a false or a fake journal. Okay, so fine. Yeah. So let me share with all of you my own experience before we go ahead with this webinar. So it so happened this was way back in 2010, when the concept of predatory, something like predatory journals itself was very new to us. Okay, and it so happened I was working for a client. I was working for J&J, and one of my authors, you know they received a kind of a email from a publishing house, saying that they are excited and they want them to, they invite them to publish an article, and even if it is a review article, they are fine with it. So the author reached out to me and said that, hey, this is a good opportunity. A journal is coming and asking us for this, for submitting our manuscript. So can we think about something? So when we looked into this journal, obviously, as a writer, you go to the journal, you look at the author guidelines and all of those things. And as I mentioned, way back then, we had no idea that there could be something like a predatory journal existing. Okay, so when we looked into the journal website, we did a mock submission, we got all the guidelines, number of words and all of those things ready. We started preparing our article, and when it was time for submission, okay, when I started doing the submission, the first thing that it asked me was for payment. Okay, payment details. Now this was very unusual, because normally, if you have been submitting to any journal, that it has to be it has to undergo a peer review, and only if your article is accepted for a after the peer review, only then they will ask for a payment. Now here outrightly they had asked for a payment, so it was quite surprising. Okay, so I flagged it off to and the most surprising thing there was that when we did the mock submissions, when we looked into the website several times earlier, we never came across this concept of this thing, which was like article processing charges anywhere mentioned. And now suddenly, at a time when we are trying to submit it to the journal is asking for providing the credit card details. And and I reached out to the author, saying that this is something that the journal is asking, so what do we do about it? And maybe it is not going to get peer reviewed at all. Now the author was very conscious about it, and he said to me that I don't want to submit anything to a journal which is not peer reviewed, so let us just retract our article from there. When I tried retracting it was not possible for me. And so I thought, let me write it to the journal editors and let me tell them that we don't plan to submit it to your journal, and we want to retract the article from your journal. But when I now went into the details about the editorial board, I could not find a single person, though the board had multiple people listed. I had no clue whom to write to. Now, normally when you look at the journal editorial board, obviously there is something. At least they'll give you the details about the editor in chief, or the issue editor, some of the details. Or in case if you're stuck somewhere, then they give you some kind of a email address whom you can contact to for that particular journal. I couldn't find these details in the journal website. So then I thought that maybe the website is like that, they are not giving all those details. So let me try to reach out to these editors who were there, and there were multiple. There were, I still remember, there were around 100, more than 100 editors, which itself was very alarming to me at that then, that how could a journal have more than 100 editors. And the editors had their, I mean, those editors had their photographs also put, their names, their designations, and their, the affiliations. It was so clearly mentioned that you could not mistake it. You could not think that it would be a fake journal and fake website. So I tried to reach out, try to find them out on LinkedIn then, and I could not find even a single person. Okay, then I tried to do some Google search and try to navigate further and try to see if I could reach out to any of those editors, because my concept till that time, I had no idea that this is a predatory journal. All I was thinking was, I want to retract my article. I don't want to submit it to this particular journal, which is not giving me an opportunity for a peer review. Okay, and when I tried to deep dive into the editorial board, I found that most of these names were fictitious. I could not locate even a single name. We tried to do a PubMed search and try to locate them, these editors, then try to look at the universities where they were affiliated to, and I found that it was all fake, but it looked so real, okay, on the website. And then this was alarming, so I brought it to the notice of my client that this is something very alarming, and they are not allowing me now to retract the article. So by this time, it took, by the time that we submitted we had already uploaded the article into the journal website. So we were like, very much worried that if they don't retract it in time, then perhaps we will land, if even the results of the study that we are planning to submit, even that those results would become public. Okay? So the client, they reached out to their legal team. They brought they told them about all these things, that this is how it came down to us, and we tried to go ahead and do this submission, and this is what happened. And so the legal team was trying to find out whether there was anything malicious. In the meantime, what happened was, to make things more complicated, the journal sent me a mail back saying that your article is already there in the press, and you can see it online. Okay, so please make the payment at the earliest. And they sent me a link wherein I could see the article there on their website into their issue. Now we were in total soup. Now obviously, by this time, even the author was very worried about it. What do we do? Should we keep the money? Should we hold it back? What if we give the money? And the money was like, you have to give the credit card details to that website. Okay. So then the client, the legal team came back, and they wrote a very they replied to the same email from where these communications were happening to us, saying that please retract this article, otherwise we would be taking, whosoever is there in the background, we would be taking legal action, very serious legal action against you. And then sooner, we found that the article was just disappeared from their website within a week. But for a week, we were like quite stressed about how do we proceed further. What if they still go ahead and they don't allow us to retract this article. So this is what this was a learning lesson for me and for many others who were working in the field. And luckily, I was being guided by people who were sitting in the US, many of my client forces and many of the legal team who were working there. Okay. And then this particular issue got escalated to the different forums there. And this is how several guidelines also later on, many people started discussing about their issues, okay, that were happening with predatory activities, with such predatory journals. And then the guidelines came into picture for how do you take care about this predatory journal. So till that time, very few people, I mean, people were getting duped, but people were not vocal about it, that this is something that's happening. So it happened with me, and I know how stressful it is. Okay. And so today's session for the rising predatory activities. Now this is something that happened 2000, way back in 2010. Then why am I talking today? The reason why I'm talking today is because today, if you see academically, if you have to grow in your career, then you need more and more papers, more and more citations, more and more of your work getting noticed in the different scientific journals. And when you have those kind of increased activity, okay, then all these kind of fraud, all these kind of scams do happen. Okay, so these are people who I would not say they are organizations. They may be just simple because they're never getting caught. Obviously, the names get caught, and every year, I'll share with you some of the examples where you will find these names getting highlighted based on all the experiences of authors and of medical writers, which when we put it across, then they get you can report at certain website that this is a fake journal or something like that, and it gets added to that list of predatory journals. So this is basically only purely a business for profit. Okay, they may not, even if they publish it somewhere on their website, that website is a fake website. Okay, and you will not be able to cite your article to for any of the further papers. No one else would be getting an access to your article. Okay, so this is how they, and this is usually done to target either inexperienced scholars or people whom they know that they have a very they have a good history of what to say uh, journal publications. Okay, that they want to go, they are academically inclined, they want more and more publications on their name, so they will send such kind of emails and such kind of notifications to such to people. Okay, so, and this is basically a result of publish or perish culture. I would say that more and more people want to publish, and these opportunists who are there in the environment, they just take advantage of the about the ignorance about people of people, and about the inexperience of people to handle such things, and we fall prey to such activities. Now, here I have a list of few titles which are there. Now, this is how difficult it is to find out. It's really very difficult for anyone to find out whether a journal is going to be a predatory journal or it's a real journal. For example, if you look here between, say, Journal of Preventive Medicine, and there is one more journal called as Preventive Medicine. There is another journal called as International Journal of Environmental Research and Public Health, and a similar journal is International Journal of Public Health. The third journal I have mentioned here is Archives of Medicine, whereas the journal which is mentioned here is Archives of Internal Medicine. So they just play around with few words here and there. Okay, and they will create a journal which will look so very real. Now it's really very difficult for any one of us to tell which is the correct journal, which is the right journal, and which is the fake journal out of it. Okay, and if I have to give you that kind of a indication, I don't know whether what is the experience that you might be having about these kind of journals, but just to give you a just to give you an idea that all the journals that I have put here, okay, in this particular column, they are all fake. Okay, you'll find they are all fake journals. These are the real journals, these are the fake journals which are there. Okay, so this is how they will they just lure the people. Okay, and you fall prey to their practice. Okay, now why it should matter to us? Okay, because even if supposingly you as an individual perhaps know that you don't take it any kind of unsolicited requests which are coming for publication, maybe you are ignoring, maybe it is going in your scam folders. Okay, but if you are a co-author, okay, and if your principal investigator has chosen a journal for you, then do you know that journal? Okay, this is very important because many times what happens is when you are on a panel, okay, of or authors for a particular study. Okay, there may be a group of authors who might be selecting a journal. Now, for you to know, okay, whether you are also whether that journal is really predatory or found in a very proper manner, scientific manner, whether the PI has chosen not chosen a predatory journal, that's very important for you. Okay, the second important thing from from a researcher point of view, from an academician point of view, and also from a medical writer point of view is if you are checking for references for some kind of a faculty position, or if you want to be a conference keynote speaker, Okay, then are you selecting the right kind of references? Are you selecting the right kind of journals? Or I hope that you're not getting duped by the conference, the name of the conference, which probably would take the fees from you. Okay, the third important thing is many of the researchers, okay, also help their fellow students. Okay, you may also be PhD guides, okay, who are helping your students to choose a journal. Okay, so in that case, you should be knowing that the journal that you are suggesting to your students is not a false journal. Okay, and the most important thing, are you able to evaluate such papers when you are reading? Okay, when you are reading a particular paper, whichever is coming, like you are referring to a particular paper, do you really think that the paper is worth it, whether it was peer reviewed, whether the journal is peer reviewed or not? Okay, of course, some of these journals, they still try to publish, they'll put it somewhere on their website. Some of the some of the papers, some of the findings, or some of these what to say articles, but when you actually go and read them, then you should be able to evaluate whether they were peer reviewed, or whether it was biased, whether it was a fake website that you are looking at. Okay, so this is the important thing for all of us, that it may be that you are not being a part of you're not never been duped by some literary journal, but when you are referring to a journal to someone else, okay, or if you as a co-author, okay, are being invited for participating in any kind of publication, or if you are invited as a conference keynote speaker, then you should know that these are false or not. Okay, fine. So enough of a lot of talking. So what is basically a predatory journal or a predatory conference? A predatory journal, basically it is a result of a predatory publishing house. Okay, and these are basically meant, the term was developed by Jeffrey Basil. That is something that is very questionable. Okay, it does not have, it is a misleading information, it is deviation from any kind of best editorial publication practices. So whether they publish it still on your behalf or not, is still, such journals which do not undergo a good thorough peer review are also considered as predatory journals. Okay, so as academicians, and I know that since I come from an academic background, the ultimate aim for every researcher is to get its work published. Okay, so in doing so, we only encourage the development of these predatory journals, because the moment you find, or someone gives you a indication that this journal has got least what do you say issues, they not come back to you for a lot of journal review comments or revisions. Okay, you immediately start liking those journals, but those journals are not the right journals. A journal which comes to you with a lot of peer review comments, okay, will help you to improvise on your work. Okay, ensure that your work is best in the interest of humankind, or it is unbiased completely. Okay, because it has been peer reviewed by a good set of reviewers. Okay, and then that kind of work, it is really worth reading, it is really worth citing, and that's the important thing, vibe of peer review, okay, which we should all keep in mind. So do not fall prey to these predatory journals or predatory conferences. Okay, then how does it affect us? Okay, you could be scammed, you will lose your work. Okay, fake peer review will happen, and because of this fake peer review, it will weaken the scientific evidence. Now you and I, both of us, every day when we look into PubMed for uh, or when we do a Google search for articles. Okay, if there is a lot of fake peer review that's happening, it will give rise to a lot of low quality articles which will have flawed results, flawed conclusions. Okay, all false information for a community. Okay, and which is hazardous, okay, for every one of us. The third important thing is that this will ultimately result in poorly designed studies, because if you look, for any study, okay, if you have to conduct any kind of new study, you look at the literature that has been available, the evidence that has been available. If your evidence, the basics are itself false, okay, if they are faulty, then that would result into poorly designed studies, and that would result in a cascade of events, which could be which would can even be leading to a wrong diagnosis, poor treatment, and completely wrong information being passed on to the community. Okay. It will also have an adverse effects on your reputation as an author, institution, funding agencies, and so on. I'll tell you that if you um, come across a book, okay, written by Andrew Wakefield. The book is called as Callous Disregard. Okay, it's about how it's a book by Andrew Wakefield. Now, Andrew Wakefield was a researcher from UK who's been banned. Okay, because he did some fake uh, fake research. Okay, and he manipulated all his results. These results were published in very good journal. Okay, one of the journal in which these results got published was Lancet. Okay, now obviously when the results got published, okay, and people started reproducing the methodology, then they found that the methodology could not be reproduced because there was a lot of methodological challenges that people faced. Okay, and there was a lot of faulty, what you say, manipulations that were done in their research. Okay, and that resulted in retraction from the journal. The journal retracted their articles. They levied, they blacklisted these authors for life. There were cases against such authors. Okay, and then obviously, all the individuals who are directly or indirectly associated in this particular in this particular article would get affected. So it will have a impact on your reputation if you are an author, or if you belong to an institution, or if you are a part of the funding agencies, or the sponsor who is sponsoring that particular study. Because the moment you retract something from the moment the journal asks you to retract the article, um, there's a lot of buzz amongst the publication people of what could be the reason why it is retracted. And if this is one of the reason, then, and if you're blacklisted, then imagine the amount of impact that it would have on your reputation. Okay. uh, then it is also, see, the moment you go in for a very low quality journal, okay, when I say, it doesn't mean it is a low impact factor journal. No, when I say a low quality journal, it means a journal which does not do a proper peer review. So please keep in mind, when the words that I'm using, I'm not talking about low impact factor journals. Journals can have a low impact factor based on their citation, because impact factor is completely a different phenomena, how it has been calculated. Okay, a quality journal is where you have a thorough peer review that's happening, at least a peer review of almost 2 to 3 reviewers, okay, who are taking interest in knowing your research, who are asking you relevant questions, who are helping you to modify your publication and making it a good article to be presented to the public, to the scientific community. Okay, so it when you submit something to a very low quality journal, it will make your research difficult to locate. Okay, that's the reason why you find that most of the times, authors, they go for ISI index journals, Scopus index journals, Medline index journals. The reason is, all these index journal, they may come with a different impact factor. Some of these journals may not have an impact factor as well, but at least we know that the quality, okay, which is going in these journals are good. Okay, they are, because they follow the good editorial practices, the good publication practices for publication of their scientific findings. Okay, and that would have a significant risk of damage to the future researchers or policymakers, because if there is a lot of false information that is floating in the public domain, okay, which is coming, which is getting noticed, then obviously it gives a wrong indication for future researchers or policymakers. Okay. Now, yes, so it is a potential means to dupe the researchers, and this is some of the important factors. How do you how do you detect, okay, a predatory journal or not? First thing it will promise you is a very fast publication. Okay, it will tell you that you submit it, we'll publish it within 7 days, which means that it will never, under your article is never going to undergo a peer review process. Okay, it has a fake editorial board, as I told you, my was based on my own experience. Okay, they will have names of all the big wigs. The moment you start, they, or the names would be that you look, you feel that they are all real names. The moment you deep dive, you do a thorough search about those editorial board members, you find that their names are all fake. Okay, either they are not affiliated, or the names are wrongly put, or whatever. So they are non-existent people who would be given. There is no adequate, in fact there is no peer review at all. Okay, they will imitate your legitimate journal. So it's really very 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 difficult from their website to to get whether they are predatory or they are not predatory. Okay, they will give you incorrect details. Okay, and some of their what to say facts you cannot verify. Okay, and if you try to retract, they will still publish it anyway, and they will claim for payment that this is now available online, and you please make the payment at the earliest. So they try to create that kind of a stressful situation for people like us, so that out of that stress we give the important details to them. Okay, and that's what they want. They just want the details from your end, and so that they can dupe you for for all the money that you have. Okay, so if you try to retract, they will try to publish it any which ways, and still they will claim for payment. So how do you take care of all these things? Okay. Okay, so these are some more peculiarities about predatory journals. That is, they are usually targeted via mails. They will send you request or send you a kind of a, invitation to participate and into a new issue or something like that. Okay, there is lack of transparencies. Okay, they will not, as I mentioned you earlier, like the moment you see the web page, okay, that their website, it will normally in a good journal or any journal. Okay, right there itself on the where you have the submission guidelines, all the article processing fees. Okay, the what is the publication policies, these are very clearly mentioned. When you look into these websites, these policies, these publication fees, publishing fees, all of these you'll not find in one go. Okay, only when you try to do a submission, at the end of submission they will ask for article publishing fees. Okay, which itself is an indication that there is something wrong. Okay, they will give you when you are submitting an article, they will ask for copyright, because then they can make the things more worse. The moment you sign a copyright there and there itself, that you give a copyright permission to them, then they have all the rights with them, so they can use your article the way they want to use it. Okay, ideally speaking, copyright is the last thing that will happen, that should happen in the publication process. Okay, if your article, when your article is submitted, they should only ask you for conflict of interest, they should ask for authorship contribution, information, and all of these things. Okay, only after the peer review and after the editorial review and all of those things, when your article is selected or accepted for publication, then the last step, okay, would be that they would send your article to you, back to you, for galley proofing. Okay, wherein they will do the typesetting of your article. They will ask you to look at your article once, that this is how it is going to look in the final issue. And once you okay it, then they send you the copyright transfer form. Okay, and if at all there are any kind of open access charges, then those will be sent at that particular phase. If someone is asking you to fill in your copyright information or asking you for money at the time of submission, please don't go ahead with it. It is definitely a predatory journal. Okay, it is definitely something is fishy about these journals. Another important thing what I found about these journals, that they said they will send you phishing emails. Okay, normally, even if supposing if a journal is new, see, journals do ask for articles or invite for articles. It is not a new thing. They definitely do it, but they will not keep on pestering you every now and then. Okay, they will send you article, they send you an email, and then that's it. Okay, that's once or maybe twice. If someone is sending you again and again, and if you notice some kind of grammatical errors into that particular emails, then definitely it is not sent by the journal. There is something definitely fishy. Okay. And another important thing, okay, this is another one of my own experience that I have seen, that some of these journals, okay, they keep on changing, their website keeps on changing. Now normally I do agree that journals, the website of journal is also updated, it is upgraded from time to time, but the frequency of updation is not on a weekly basis. The frequency may be like quarterly, it may be yearly. Okay, but it is definitely not on a daily basis or on a weekly basis. If you find that any journal is changing its website on a daily basis or on a weekly basis, we be alert about, it may be a predatory journal. This is specifically for the conferences as well. Okay, fine. So another question to go before we go ahead to how to identify this predatory journal or conferences. So I just wanted to know, or at least from people who said that they have been a victim of predatory journal. So do you know how to identify a predatory journal or conference? Okay, so let's end the voting. So there is a mixed response here that I get, that we get. Many people are have got a clear idea, but there's a huge majority which still does not have an idea about how to identify predatory journal or or a predatory conference, and many people are not sure about it. So let's see how do we identify these journals. Okay. So yes, now the most important thing is whenever you select any kind of journal, okay, the most important thing is, supposingly if the journal has come, the name of the journal has come down to you from one of your colleague or from the client or from the author. Okay, the first thing that we normally do is we go to the website, okay, for any journal name. Okay, and then what we do is we normally go to the, as writers or as authors, what we do is we go to the author submission page. Okay, what you need to do is you need to first look at the website, scan the website properly. Okay, if you find any kind of dead links, these are the prominent things which can help you identify your predatory journal. Try to click on the links which are provided in these journals. Okay, usually they are dead, it will not open into any page. It will look as if the link is very active. The moment you click on it, it will give you some kind of an error message. Okay, this is one thing, but not necessary that every time when you click and if it is going to an error message means the journal is a predatory journal. There may be reasons that that particular page might be under maintenance or might be under construction as well. Okay, it happens. Okay, so then what is the next step that you at look at it. Okay, when you find that the publication fees are not clearly cited, Okay, if you go to the journal submission fees or journal submission what is the guidelines, then at the end of it you will find the publication fees clearly mentioned, whether it is for open access or whether they have only subscription based thing, and the fees are very clearly indicated. If it is not clearly indicated there, okay, means there is something fishy. Okay, the another important thing to, and the best way to look at it is to look whether this particular journal is indexed. Okay, whether it is indexed either in Medline or it is indexed in ISI or it is indexed in Scopus. Okay, or you find any kind of publishing, any kind of article from which has been published in this particular journal. So just do a Google search or just do a PubMed search and try to put this particular the journal name into Google or into PubMed and try to find out, or any kind of databases wherein you are selecting, wherein which you are using for finding your article, and just see whether you are getting any kind of articles which are prior, which are published earlier in that particular journal. Okay, normally if you supposingly if you put Lancet, or if you put any, even if a very low impact factor journal, okay, even a Hindavi publication journal which may not be of a very high impact factor, okay, you put it there like Journal of Tropical Medicine, you will still get some articles there. Okay, which and which are backdated, and if you try to look at how much backdated that they are, okay, they may be backdated for a few years, okay, then you know the authenticity of that journal. Okay, then when you look at those emails, okay, then you look at the timestamps of these emails, and then you will find that they are very inconsistent. Sometimes they will send you emails which can be which are of timestamps of some Russian time, or sometimes it is of some Chinese time, sometimes it is of some Australian times, between different time zones. Now normally if a journal, if an editor is sending, or if anyone from the editorial board is sending you emails to invite you for participating in a particular issue, okay, they will be consistent about their time zones. Okay, it will be the same editor or the same person who would be sending, so which will have the same kind of timestamps. Now here if they are coming very differently, inconsistently, okay, to you, that means that is something fishy. Okay, the phone numbers may be incorrect, the phone numbers may not have the correct country code. So these are some basic things, when you look into the website of any journal, if you find there is any kind of doubtfulness here, you can at least be alert of whether it would be a predatory journal or not, so that you know how do you go about it. Okay, and normally if you go to any journal, go to the about section of the journal, and sometimes most of the good journals, they would give it right in the beginning, in the first paragraph only, that the journal is a member of COPE, or it is listed as in DOAG. Okay, so this kind of things they would give it to you right in the beginning. Okay, but supposedly if you don't find it there in the beginning, at least scroll down and then you see that whether they are a member of COPE, whether they are a member of good societies which are there. Okay, and if they are not there, so these journals will definitely not be a member of any of these good societies, because there are conditions. Okay, there are they have to follow the good publication practices, and these societies only then allow them to be a member of these societies. So if they are not there, which means this may be a very low quality journal, or it may be a predatory journal. So these are some basic things that you need to look when you are how you can identify a predatory journal. Okay, and these are some snippets of some red flags which can help you to identify, like for example, an odd salutation which has got a typo. Now a journal which will never give you if it's inviting you to be a to submit your article there in their specific issue, they will never give you a salutation, something like glorious wishes for the day, something like that, or give you some kind of an awkward English, okay, a wrong English. Okay, and if you look into this journal, now if you try to search Japanese Journal of Gastroenterology and Hepatology, if you look here, it is giving you everything, but the moment you try to look into this journal and try to verify the facts, you'll find that all this information is all false, does not have a compact factor, this ISSN number is also wrong, and the journal itself is false. So you know that the information is not matching with whatever they have given it to you in their email, which gives you an indication that this is a predatory journal. Okay, and usually they will also give you your, the online submission link, because that's how they don't want you to go and look into the journal website. Now if you when you look at actual journals asking you to participate and be submit your article to their specific issue, they will never give you this kind of online submission details. They will give you the details for, they'll give you mention very clearly that you can go to the submission website and do the submission. No one will give you directly here that you can click on here and you can just submit your article. No, there is a procedure, right? You need to register the corresponding author. You need to add the ORCID IDs. These days that is a compulsion. Okay, and then you need to add a lot of details and then submit it. So no journal these days, at least I have not come across any journals which is asking directly, just submit, just upload your article and over, the work is done. No, it takes a good amount of at least 2 to 3 hours for you to complete all the formalities which are there on the journal website page, right from entering all the details of all the authors who are there, suggesting the reviewers whom you want to send the article to, suggesting the opposed reviewers, then copy pasting the abstract into it, then adding the conflict of interest related information or uploading the relevant forms, and then submitting the article. And most of the journals, they have a very clear cut criteria of how the submission has to be. So the manuscript body is different. Sometimes some journal ask you to separate out the title page from the body of the manuscript. Of course, figures and tables are also figures definitely they are separated out from the journal, from the article. But sometimes some of the journals also ask you to separate out the tables, individual tables from the article, and then upload it individually. Okay, and then with proper markation. And at the end of it, it will also send you the article for a quick look for once they build up the PDF, so that so that you do a cross check of what you have uploaded is all correct. Okay, and then finally submit. So if the website is not complying to all the normal procedures that you do during a journal submission activity, this means that there is something definitely wrong in that particular with that particular journal. Okay. Some more red flags here. Okay, like this is one more awkward English where they have said that we are in shortfall of articles for the successful release of. No journal is going to ask you tell you this kind of details. Okay, and then giving you this kind of false information. We hope a 2-page article is in time taken from are eminent authors like you. And if you look at the errors here, author suddenly is capitalized, so it's a false praise and false things, plus the typos which you find. So the moment you find, and a very short deadline, this is something that is luring you, that you don't have to don't think at the spur of the moment. Just gather your article, submit it, and fall prey to their whatever activities that they are doing. And plus obviously these kind of articles which are these kind of journals which are there, which is giving you a wrong information. If you do a detailed search, you find that they are not indexed. Okay, they don't have a proper website. Okay, and they are not falling into any databases, so you do not find relevant articles from these journals getting published, which means that this particular journal is a fishy journal. The same thing happens with predatory conferences. In fact, predatory conferences numbers are growing day by day, because after pandemic, basically because of the virtual conferences, and so many virtual conferences are there. They ask for a very minimal amount of amount for registration, and they take all the details from you. And obviously as an individual, you find that okay, this is just a small sum. So even if I do not participate in the conference, or even if I don't get time to be there for the conference, it's absolutely okay. It's just a very small sum, but at least let me try to be a part of this conference. And this is how you try to register. The moment you register, and the moment you provide all your details to this particular conference, including your payment details, they start duping you for the money. Okay, so what are the attributes of these predatory conferences? The most important thing is they invite through spam emails. This is very, very, very very classic of these. Okay. Another important thing is these conferences are usually conducted in some very exotic locations. Okay, which probably all the major cities in some very exotic locations which normal conferences will not go in for. Okay. And they will also give you some kind of a what to say um, uh, uh, some kind of luring, like for example they would say that if you prioritize this, okay, then if you give us some more money, then you may get a quality scholarship, or you may get some kind of an award for that particular for your paper that would be presented in the conference or something like that, which normally no conference would be giving you a award for the money that you, or some kind of a for the amount that you're paying. Okay, so if you select for a gold membership, or if you select for a silver membership, then you are entitled to get an award or something like that. No, that means that conference is a false conference. Okay. Then most of these conferences are not very clear about the the topics. Okay, so usually such conferences, they talk about, when they tell you what the conference is all about, it will give you a very broad category. Okay, normally all conferences, okay, even though supposingly if you take a very global conference like ASCO, okay, which is for which is on oncology. Okay, but still the kind of topics is not very varied. Okay, the topics would be oncology. Okay, but in that also they will have specific topics, and those specific topics would be covering the latest things which are there. They would not be a conference which is talking anything and everything under the sun. Okay, it will not be a topic on, say, all the kind of therapeutic areas or entire biology or entire genetics. No, it will be very restricted. Okay, so when you find these kind of conferences which are claiming that they cover everything, okay, then be careful about these kind of conferences which are there. Okay, then then the most important thing again for predatory conferences is how do you select the speakers. So normally for all conferences, the keynote speakers, okay, whom they select is based on their experience, based on the academic qualifications, okay, based on their what you say, the latest research that they have done. It is never on the basis of on if if you're ready to cover your own expenses, or if you're ready to travel on your own, or if you're ready to manage your own accommodation, we make you as a key speaker. No. Okay, but these kind of conferences, they will lure you saying that you cover your own cost and your travel and your accommodation things, and we make you a keynote speaker. We will not be able to provide you any kind of remuneration to become a speaker or something like that. On the contrary, no conferences gives you a remuneration for being a speaker or a keynote speaker for that. Okay, it is usually you have to fund your own fund yourself, or a sponsor company would fund you to be to go for and attend a particular conference. Okay, the conference do not fund it. Okay, but when they mention it very clearly into their website or into that email to you, that that you become a keynote speaker on the basis of this kind of criteria, that means that conference is a fake conference. Okay, and usually these conferences are very poorly organized conferences. Okay, virtual conferences specifically, where they keep on changing the deadlines, keep on changing the links which they are sharing with you, which that this particular conference can dupe you uh, for your registration fees. Okay, so okay, so when a conference is talking about, first of all, if you have never heard about a conference name, okay, if the name starts with World Congress, Global Congress, of course there is something called as World Congress of gastroenterology and things are there. But when something starts with global or international conference on something, okay, which is not affiliated to any kind of body, okay, then any kind of associations, okay, then obviously such a conference name is very doubtful. Okay, when you find that all the participants are normally people who are working in that area for a very long time, at least you're aware about the key authors in that area. Okay, so if you're working with oncology, you know the key oncologists who are there in that area. If you find that the names, the participants are absolutely, you have no idea about those participants. If you don't have any kind of uh, you know um, no, idea about those things, take it from me that these may be predatory conferences. Okay. Then when they have several kind of categories, normally, conferences do have awards, they have certifications and all of those things. Okay. But there are very few fixed categories which are there. When you have multiple categories, which will ensure that everyone who is going to attend, okay, is going to get some or the other award. Okay. It is kind of a luring the people that you come and attend, because when you look at all the categories which are there, you somewhere you feel that yes, I stand, um, this award may come down to me. So it may be something like that, or on the basis of some additional fees that you are entitled for an award. Okay. Which means that this is a false conference. Okay. And when you are given an opportunity to publish your conference proceedings, nor in journals which are organized by these event organizers. Okay. Now of course, they the good congresses also give you an opportunity to publish your conference proceedings, but they have their own way of doing it. They will publish only the abstracts. Okay. The posters, the what you say, the oral presentations, they are available on the congress website for a particular time. Okay. And if uh, but if he in this case, in case of a predatory conference, they will allow you to publish your entire, the entire paper also, which is going to come after the particular conference. That means then, there is a chance that this may be a predatory conference. Okay, then how do you take care of it? How do you how do you prevent yourself falling prey to these predatory conferences? Okay, these are some tips that you can identify the predatory conferences. First is check the affiliations, okay, of whosoever is sending you the invitation. Okay. Analyze the genuineness of the program description. Okay. Check whether the program is really genuine. Okay. Whether it is really making any sense to you. Okay. Check if the affiliation of the congress planning group, okay, whether it is a legal, whether it is a legitimate organization or entity. Okay. See if the invitation includes well-known speakers or experts in this field. Okay. Look out for any kind of unreasonably high fees which are there, which are charged for invited speakers. Okay. So if the answer for all of these things, the moment you say that yes, congress is having all these things, okay, they're not, and for a few things if the answer is no, then you know that this is a predatory conference or not. For example, if you check the affiliations of the speaker invitation, and if you find that there is something fishy, then yes, this may be a predatory conference. If you check for the target audience as per the congress aims, and if you find that no, it is not matching, the information given in the website, it's not matching with whatever the congress headline is talking about, okay, or the scope of that congress is talking about, that means there is something fishy about it. Okay. If you find that there is some kind of a continual educational credits, most of the congresses they do give, okay, the cpd or cme points to it, but see whether those cme points are really valid points. Okay. Whether that certification is recognized into your in your field. Okay. There you'll find numerous conferences giving you credit points, and people just are crazy to get for those credit points, but is it going to make any worth to you? Okay. Because most of, if they are not cme, if they are not accredited by a good organization, then in that case those credit points are worthless for you. Okay. So check out for those things. Okay. Check out for if you are if you are able to find any kind of previous year's abstracts or proceedings, okay, from their congress websites. Normally all the congress websites, okay, world over, you take any conference website, whether it is a regional or a local or a global website, it will have details about your previous years or previous what to say congress meetings. Okay. It will give you, it may give you the list of the abstracts which were there, the proceedings that had happened, but uh, ideally at least it should give you the where the previous conference or the previous annual meeting was conducted. If you find that such things are not found on your congress website, then be aware about it. Okay. and check for a reasonable evaluation criteria for your presentations and posters. Normally when you submit your abstract to a particular conference does not come back to you immediately and say that your presentation or your abstract is accepted. It takes some time, right? Every conference would take almost a minimum of a 1 month, okay, to come down to you and tell that this your presentation or your abstract is accepted or not, and then they will give you another at least 6 weeks time for developing the next deliverable if your presentation is accepted for poster or if it is accepted for oral presentation, okay, accordingly. But if you find that everything is happening in a very hush hush manner, that as soon as you submit it to a conference, immediately they reach back to you, means there is no proper peer review that is happening, okay, and there is no proper evaluation criteria for your presentations, okay, and they're just accepting presentation for the sake of it, that you just go ahead and you go and you book and you register and you fall prey to their to the predatory nature, predatory activities, okay. Normally speaking, all conference abstracts, it usually, if the supposingly the congress is scheduled in May, okay, they would start the activity somewhere in January. By February end, or sometimes some of the global conferences, they even for congresses which are scheduled in May, they may even stop the abstract abstract acceptance or abstract submission portal somewhere in the month of December. I've seen many of the congresses stopping it in December. But even though, suppose, let's take for that the congress is a very small congress or a closed group congress, okay, even then they would take at least 3 to 4 months for them to arrange and for them to have a good peer review of your abstracts, and then give you adequate time to prepare the next stage, okay, whether it's a poster or whether it's an oral presentation. It never happens in a very hush hush manner, okay. Okay, so these are some examples of predatory conference, and see, for example, where you're talking about multiple emails that are being sent down to you, a very broad agenda. Like, for example, here we are saying we have also planned several sessions which should be of interest to those in many different fields of medicine. Okay, and then it is giving you about all these things, and uh, if you look into something like this, it's a very broad agenda that they are looking at, and something that they are looking at an element of urgency, where you're saying that there are few remaining presentations, so slots which are there, so would you be the whole idea about these predatory conferences or predatory journals is to create that kind of an urgent situation and provoke you that you act without thinking, okay. So it will give you a very short time limit to act upon. So when they say that we need the response by, say, end of next week, or by end of by end of tomorrow, or something like that, okay, which means they are creating that kind of a stressful situation for you, that you don't rethink about whether you should you just get lured by their invitation and go with the flow and fall prey to their activities, okay. These are few free resources that can help you to identify the predatory journals, okay. The first one of this list, I would suggest every one of you to please go and check with your check your journals using this criteria. It's a 10-point criteria which is given, a very quick ready reckoner for you to identify whether your journal is predatory or not predatory, okay, or it's a good journal, okay. And then that apart, the Schimago index, the NLM index, okay, or the COPE guidelines or the DOAJ, this will also give you, these are all also some of the they have a list of peer reviewed journals. They also have now started to put it on their website that these are some predatory journals, okay. So and then, yes, every year, this is one crowdsourcing project which is there, okay, which is on stop predatory journals. So it publishes a list of all the journal names, okay, which will imitate the legitimate journals. So every year, if you just Google search on stop predatory journals for 2023, it will give you a list of all the predatory journals which have been listed in 2023, or people have reported that these are of predatory nature. The same thing for for the earlier years as well. So these are some few resources that can help you to identify whether your journal or whether your congress is a predatory conference or not. Okay, so now I just open for your questions. Any questions till now that you want me to answer? The floor is open. Any questions? Anyone wants to share any kind of experience with predatory journals or predatory conference? What to do if we have already published in a predatory journal? If that hold predatory, how to deal with organizations that hold predatory conferences? It's very difficult to answer this question about how to deal with such organization, because for the most important thing here is that such you will not find them as organization. These are individuals, believe me. Predatory conferences or predatory journals which are there is no organization which is going to do this. It's usually individuals who are doing this because all they want is your credit card details. Okay, and they can go about it. Okay, so how to deal with it? It is really very difficult, because the moment you put in, that's the reason, because they keep on changing their websites. Okay, so it's very difficult to track them. Of course, you can make the uh, complaints in the cyber crime divisions or whatever, but it doesn't reach, very frankly speaking. The only way is, rather than dealing with it later, is to be aware that these kind of conferences are happen. Okay, and these kind of predatory activities are existing, and not fall prey. So prevention here, I think, is better than uh, okay, better than cure. Yes, definitely, Anshul. We will definitely share with you the PPT. There is one more question which someone had asked about. Okay, if you have already, okay, what if you have presented a paper in a conferences which later seemed out to be a predatory? Okay, if you have already presented a paper in that conferences, in that particular conference, you can't do anything about it, but just be careful that you cannot cite that particular paper as well. Okay, but supposing, like, what had happened with me, I had already submitted that paper. Okay, and I wanted to retract it back. The first thing that you should do is try to retract it back. Okay, if supposing if you're not able to retract it back, at least give them that kind of an indication that you have to communicate with to them. Okay, and you have to make them understand that you will take legal actions. See, the moment they hear about legal actions from your organization, the moment you get the legal team into picture, they will just disappear. Okay, and then you can submit it to some other conference or some other journal. Okay, if supposingly if you're not aware about it, then you need to make a press release that you tried to submit it to a particular journal, but then it was found to be predatory and you are unable to retract it from that particular journal. However, just an indication, because whichever the next journal that you are going to go and you are going to submit that particular paper, is definitely going to ask you. And supposedly if that journal comes to know that your paper is floating somewhere in the on the web, okay, somewhere people are able to see that paper, they would blacklist you. Okay, that you are doing duplicate publication. Okay, in that case you need to make it very clear to the second journal editor that this is what has happened with you, and you have already made a press release that we tried to submit, and this particular journal we found that it was predatory in nature. So that is the worst come. But the repercussions are quite I mean, they are more stressful. Okay, so what I would say is here is prevention is better. And so try to avoid, okay, try to look out that your journal is not a predatory journal. Whenever you get a name of a journal, and whenever you want to someone gives you that kind, even if it is coming from your authors or it is coming from your colleagues, okay, try to understand whether the journal is really an authenticate journal or not. Okay, and try to look into all these kind of small tips which are there about from the journal website to the name of the journal, whether it is index journal. Most importantly, I would say that you know you have to look into it, and you have to ensure that the journal is go for index journals only. Don't go for journals which are non-index, because the chances of them being predatory are very high. What happens when any journal later on gets delisted from Scopus because of any infiltrate malpractices? Thus the earlier work will still be considered as Scopus? It's a very difficult question to answer. Yes, the earlier work is considered as Scopus because till the time that it has been cited by by some more people who are there. Okay, but uh, a journal getting delisted from Scopus, okay, because of some kind of malpractice itself gives you an indication what kind of journal that it would be. So that's what I always say, that don't go for journals which are having a very low quality. So uh, it may be a genuine journal, but it may not give you a good kind of, see, why should a journal get delisted in the first place? Because the peer review was not proper, because they have got some kind of malpractices associated with it. Okay, so when you look into any journal, okay, when you look at that's the reason why we've been insisting, all our writers and even the authors, that when we select particular kind of a journal, the first thing that we look into their backdated issues and see what kind of articles are getting published. Okay, what kind of, how, what is the time from the submission to the acceptance, okay, of a particular article. All these things are very important, not just for the sake that you want to publish it earlier, but it also gives you an idea about the authenticity of the journal. Imagine if a journal is publishing something, if you get, say, at least 3 articles which are published within, from the date from submission to acceptance, and within, say, 3 weeks or within 1 month, which means the journal is not giving it for a proper peer review. There is no proper peer review that is happening, and such a journal should not be considered. Okay, but in case if you have already done, okay, and in case if you have already submitted, this has happened, and now the journal has got, is over. I mean, the journal is now got. You can't do anything to it. Okay, you can still cite it because it will be there somewhere in that journal when you are looking into PubMed, or when you're looking into the Google search, your article would be seen. Okay, and if it is still cited by some more researchers, at least you can just take it forward. But the whole idea here is that how to avoid selecting these kind of journals, that you don't fall prey to it. Okay? What to do if we already have a published article in a predatory journal? Nothing you can do. If you already have a published in a predatory journal, you can't do anything to it. Okay, so but then, as I mentioned, the moment you publish it in a predatory journal, your article will not be seen on their journal website itself. Okay, because a predatory journal will not have any backdated issues. Okay, it will not have any kind of uh, any kind of history. Okay, the website will keep on changing. Okay, so even if you have say, if you go ahead and you have submitted, it looks that it is published. Okay, the only way that to do is to make a press release later when you realize that it was a predatory journal. Get your legal team into picture. Okay, send a notice to that journal saying that we want to retract the article from your journal because we find that there's something malpractices that are going on, and submit it afresh to, and do a press release, and then submit it to afresh to a new new journal. But then that is that's a very time consuming activity, which is where most of the people they just give up. Okay, and then uh, this is how it will still be remain into the predatory journal. See, the whole idea of publishing your study, one of the idea is also that you get more citations. Okay, that was already published in a, will there be a plagiarism detected? There will, it will not be a plagiarism detected. Forget about plagiarism, it will be a duplicate journal publication. So the new journal is not going to, first of all, it will not publish your article unless and until you make the scenario very clear to the editor of that new journal, that this is the thing that has happened with us earlier. It was, we had submitted it to a journal, and this journal we realized that it was predatory in nature. And then you also have to give them proof saying that you have tried to retract it, you have sent them a legal notice, you have done a press release, you have done everything possible to retract that article from that particular journal. Okay, and then only then you can submit it to a new journal. Okay, so this is something that you need to keep in mind. Okay, uh, before, otherwise no good journal. Okay, no good journal or whatever impact factor is going to accept your article the moment they find that your article is already floating in their in the on the web, in some or the other journal, or it's showing that it is plagiarized, because that will be a duplicate publication. In the cover letter, whenever we are writing any cover letter for any kind of journal submission, we make it very clear there and there itself that this is not a duplicate publication. We have ensured that we have not submitted for any other, to any other journal. Okay, it is not considered for publication at any, by any other journal. Okay, and then that this is the sole journal that we are dependent on. Okay, now here, whenever, here, since you have a scenario where you try to submit it to a journal and you realize it is published on a predatory journal website, you need to get that case here to that new journal editor, make them understand. Otherwise, this journal editor is going to blacklist you for life. Okay, so plagiarism detected, yes. So first of all, as I said, this question needs to be rephrased. Plagiarism will get detected, obviously. Okay, and the earlier journal, the good journal which is there in picture, is going to reject your article there and there itself, because it will be classified as a duplicate publication, and this good journal may even blacklist you for life. So instead of doing that, always be transparent into your cover letter, give all the facts properly, support it with the help of proper evidence that you try to retract. So you attach that email that you must have sent it to the predatory journal. Okay, with a legal notice that you must have sent to the predatory journal asking for retraction, and press release that you must have done at that time saying that we tried to do this and we found that this was a predatory journal and we are not planning to go ahead with this particular journal. And once you send all these proofs to another journal, only then it will, it gets that kind of a assurance that yours is not a duplicate publication, and you are still going ahead with the it will take it ahead and it will send it for what do you say, a peer review process. Any more questions? Okay, so if there are no more questions, thank you so much everyone for attending today's session, and I hope it was interesting, maybe something new that you must have learned. It was definitely interesting for me because I could revisit my experience several years back when I almost became a victim for this predatory journal. Yes, absolutely. Some of the Q rank journals are also coming out to be predatory. Absolutely. So that's the reason why we need to be very careful when we are selecting the journal. Okay, so uh, the criteria on the how can I communicate? You can communicate it through to the same mode that you registered yourself for this particular webinar, and our people will get in touch with you in case if you want to know something more about it. So thank you so much. So all I want to just end this particular session by saying that whenever you are doing a good a journal search or a conference search, be very alert. Okay, look into the journal, the conference website or the journal website properly. Ask your colleagues if they've heard about that conference name or a journal name. Okay, look for backdated issues that will give you an idea of how your this thing is going to be. Okay, whether it's a predatory or not predatory. Anything that you find it fishy, anything that you see that it's constantly changing, or editorial board which is keeping on which is changing or having too many people on their list. Okay, try to check the editorial board. This is one very important thing that I have learned, is check the authenticity of the editorial board. Many times we look into the editorial board and we just go by it that okay, there is an editor in chief, there is an issue editor which is there, but try to do a Google search and see the authenticity of those that information which is put there in that webs into about them. Try to look into the issues, okay, which are there. Okay, and get a feedback from Google as well. These days everything is there online, so check the list of predatory journals which is published every year and try to locate that journal there. Okay, and going for index journals, because that is the most important thing. Yeah. If there are no more questions, thank you so much everyone for your time. Yes, our training department will do the needful and they will share the presentations. Yeah, I think we can close the session.